637,000 people filing unemployment claims. Remember, I just brought this point up with Austin? That was for the first time last week, and a record 6.5 million people now collecting unemployment benefits. Layoffs in the auto industry driving up jobless claims. You used to hear all the time, what's good for GM is good for America. Does the opposite now hold true? If GM goes bankrupt, well, America. Well, Congressman Thaddeus McCotter, Republican from Michigan, joining us now. Hi, Thaddeus. How are you, sir?
How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Well, Congressman, it is not fun to see what's happening in the state of Michigan. It's not fun to see with, in particular, these dealerships are probably going to be, 2,000 dealerships from GM are going to be out of business. But how are you going to deal with the unemployment situation in Michigan in particular?
Well, what the state of Michigan has to do, even before the current intensified restructuring of the auto industry, Cheryl, is to make it a competitive state for entrepreneurs to start businesses, for our college students to pursue careers, and for homeowners to want to stay in. Right now, unfortunately, in a recessed time, Michigan has raised taxes. They're trying to move forward and continue to put government's revenues ahead of the entrepreneurs, the businesses, the workers that are going to help make Michigan prosperous.
Representative McCotter, thanks for joining us. Here's the thing. So Chrysler is going through what we call, I guess, hopefully a surgical bankruptcy. GM appears to be just down the road from that. UAW owns a lot of Chrysler. UAW is going to own a lot of GM pretty soon. My concern is for my beloved Ford here, who still hasn't taken any bailout money, who will also have UAW workers on the line. One of these guys is going to come out and say, UAW, cut the Viva costs, cut the legacy costs, and let's get back to making cars. Is it going to be in time for Ford to survive?
Well, first, regarding Ford specifically, unlike Toyota even, they have not asked for federal assistance to get through the difficult time. As you know, they are racing against the clock in many ways. What's happening with the recessed economy, they need cars to move off the lot like everyone else. But fortunately, keeping our fingers crossed, they are positioned to make it through. In terms of the UAW, again, they've been working with GM and with Chrysler to make them viable to get ahead. And I always ask the question about this, people who think that the union is made off very well. What friend of yours would give you 55% of a company in bankruptcy to pay your health care costs?
Congressman McCotter, Big Thaddeus, you've told me it's all right to call you before. We talk here, I just was saying a year ago that we couldn't conceive that we would have ownership, government ownership of corporations. I call it a fascist state, which is by definition government ownership of corporations. How do I get out of this? In 3 to 5 years, is the Republican-Democrat regime going to just take me down more ownership of corporations? Or you guys actually have a plan to get us out?
Well, clearly the first step, obviously we have the banks, we have the auto companies now. The auto companies need the freeing up of credit so that they can start moving cars. You have to go back to the Wall Street bailout. You have to break the model of government and business together in what Chesterton called the servile state, which subordinates people to it. That seems to me the first step, because once you get the banks solvent, once you restore and reprivatize the banks, you can actually start to put the financial system on a footing that will allow other companies to proceed, start hiring people, and move forward in a sustainable way.
All right, so again, going back to what is going to happen over the next few months, in particular with unemployment, because it is going to be Chrysler and GM and the dealers that are going to take unemployment much higher. Is it really fair to say to the American people we should be spending our way out of recession, we should be buying American cars, maybe buying things that we can't afford en masse when you've got unemployment ticking higher and frankly, people are over-leveraged?
I'll go back to Cody's point. One of the things that we've seen with the meltdown in the financial institutions was public trust deteriorate in them. You've also seen with the massive stimulus bill, trillion-dollar spending and deficits, that type of chaotic behavior going into the governmental system and people's confidence being reduced. I would say that if you can restore credibility both to government actions and to the financial system itself through an appropriate and just action, that's what will get people to start feeling comfortable enough to spend money, Cheryl. It's not just simply a question of going on TV and telling them it's all better, because the American people know what's in their best interest economically better than anyone in the government today.
Representative, we love you. You're on the show a lot. You're on a lot of shows with us, but more troubling than government and business is government and unions to me, because that doesn't seem to work. It's never worked. What makes you think it's going to work going forward?
Well, again, the UAW does not want to run these companies. This was part of the end result of the process with Chrysler and may well be with GM. We hope not, but it may be. They want to get rid of those shares once they get up and running so that they can fund the VEBA. Those benefits are going to have to be funded by either the newly merged Chrysler, Fiat, and GM, or they're going to be put into the social safety net. But the auto workers were not sitting at the table demanding control of these companies.
Congressman Thaddeus McCotter from Michigan. Always great to see you,
Big
Congressman.
Daddy.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. We have got a Fox